I haven't had an iPhone since the iPhone 4 came out 16 years ago in 2010. This is the same year the first iPad was released, Instagram hit the App Store, Facebook hit 500 million users, and someone paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John pizzas. Since then, I've been a pretty solid Android user, but when the iPhone 17 Pro Max came out, it seemed to have all the bells and whistles to make me decide that now is a good time to upgrade my iPhone. The big question I had for myself when I got it was, how much has changed since I last used an iPhone 16 years ago? And will I like the changes that they've made since then? Well, that's what I'm going to find out in today's video. My name is Nathaniel, and let's see what's changed between the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. The phone market has dramatically changed in the 16 years between the 2 iPhone model releases. Not only has consumer habits completely changed over the years, but so too has design and style preferences have changed as well. When the iPhone 4 first came out, it was seen as setting the standard for premium design, peak technology, and a great software experience. And to this day, this still holds true for Apple. But while the iPhone 4 had a sophisticated design with its dual glass and steel frame body, the iPhone 17 Pro Max has evolved that thinking, replacing the old steel frame with an aluminium unibody design instead. And while it still has glass on the front and back, the 2 ceramic shield pieces have been implemented differently, with the back piece being a different color to the unibody frame, giving it this 2-tone color design, which I really love. What's also changed design-wise is that the silent switch has been replaced with an action button. But not only that, an additional camera button has been added as well. Depending on who you ask, some people like the physical switch on the 4, but the fact that the action button can be configured to do all sorts of things does make it a bit more practical, which I am a fan of. Also, I never thought I'd see a dedicated camera button on an iPhone, but here we are. One of the biggest and most obvious changes has come in its physical size. As the years have passed, how we use our phones and consume content has dramatically changed, and so has the size of the phones. Can you remember a time when we all thought 3.5-inch screens were the best? Steve Jobs can. He always liked the fact that a 3.5-inch display was the perfect size for a phone to be held comfortably in one hand, and be able to reach the entire screen with your thumb. To his credit, the iPhone 4 literally fits in the palm of my hand. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, however, the screen has ballooned out to 3 times the size of the iPhone screen at 6.9 inches. It's so big that the iPhone 4 screen actually fits horizontally. And what made the iPhone 4's display stand out back then with its Retina display also continues to live on in the Pro Max, because it actually has a higher pixel density count of 460 ppi compared to the iPhone 4's 326 ppi, allowing you to still have that clear, sharp display just on a bigger canvas. Now, with a change in display sizes also comes a change in how we interact with the phone, because in order to accommodate such a large screen, Apple decided to remove the home button from the front of their phone with the iPhone X or iPhone X, whichever way you see it. And with the removal of the home button was also Apple's fingerprint scanner Touch ID. But in its place is the much more advanced and secure Face ID, although it did come with a rather ugly notch on the screen in the beginning. With the 17 Pro Max, however, the notch has shrunk to a much smaller and slightly intrusive dynamic island. Now, I personally much prefer having a physical home button to press to take me back to the home screen, and also use a fingerprint scanner to unlock my device, which Apple first implemented it with the iPhone 5S. But it can be stated that Face ID is a much stronger way to secure device, and removing the home button for a larger screen is worth the sacrifice. Still, it will be missed. The one thing that I won't miss, however, is the 30-pin connector on the iPhone 4. It was around for quite some time, and part of the reason Apple kept it around was most likely because it made royalties for every accessory that had it. But it meant that all your accessories had to have a 30-pin connector, and when virtually every other product used micro USB at the time, it was incredibly frustrating to have a specific cable for one device. This continued on for an incredibly long time due to the switch to the Lightning port in 2012 with the iPhone 5. But it wasn't until the iPhone 15 series in 2023 where they finally switched to USB-C. Now, you can use any USB-C cable to charge your iPhone instead of having to have a specific cable for one device. Another thing that won't be missed, depending on who you ask, is the headphone jack. If you are an audiophile or had a lot of old headphones, then this would have been a big disappointment. But for me, I kept on getting them tangled, or they always got caught on something and would constantly be pulled out of my ears, so I was glad to switch to Bluetooth headphones when I could. and I shed no tears for the removal of the headphone jack. So I'd say RIP. Now, cameras are where you can probably see the biggest difference between the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Years of research and development into better lenses, better computational algorithms, better photo processing, coupled with human habits to record more of our lives, has led to these advancements. If you ask someone in 2010 that their future phone would have three 48 megapixel cameras instead of a single 5 megapixel camera on the iPhone 4, they'd probably ask you why you'd need so many cameras for. But that's just how today's society uses their phones and cameras. People want to take an ultra-wide shot, or a zoomed-in photo, or the good old portrait picture. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we've moved in this direction, capturing so much of our lives all the time, but I'm all for photos and videos just for the memories. The front camera on the iPhone 4 was also a game changer due to the implementation of FaceTime. It was a simple VGA camera which took very low quality photos, but was good enough to video call your family and friends. And while people still use FaceTime today, the front-facing camera has become so much more versatile, with people using it to take copious amounts of selfies. And what's genius about the 17 Pro Max's front-facing camera is that they went with a square sensor that they used to automatically frame the selfies without having to rotate your phone. So whether you want it vertical, horizontal, or a group shot with friends, you have all these options without having to rotate your phone. Now that is a pretty neat software trick. Speaking of software, this probably is where the most changes have happened between the iPhone 4 and the 17 Pro Max. When the iPhone 4 came out, it started on iOS 4 and ended at 7.1.2, while the Pro Max runs iOS 26. Since then, there has been so much more iteration and evolution of the software experience that it has made it feel like a completely different experience. Notifications are still accessed by pulling down from the top of the screen, but the control center, which was pulled up from the bottom of the iPhone 4, has since been shifted to being pulled down from the top right side of the 17 Pro Max. Not only that, but there are so many more buttons available in the control center, and it can be customized to suit your preferences and needs. The fact that you can customize what's in the control center and how it looks is pretty awesome, as Apple used to never let you customize anything. I actually liked being able to pull the control center from the bottom of the screen, but there's a reason for that. When Apple decided to remove the home button, it still needed a way to navigate around the device. And that's when they introduced the gesture bar. This essentially replaced the same functions as the home button did, and then some, being able to be used to swap between apps, go back, go to the home screen, and many other functions. Although my biggest gripe with it is that the swipes or gestures to go back are not the same for every app. One thing I did notice that was different between the two phones is the amount of apps that come preloaded. On the iPhone 4, it takes up the first page and then a single line on the second, but on the Pro Max, it's 2 whole pages. Part of the reason is that as the years have gone by, Apple has been able to add more apps and services to its devices. From the likes of GarageBand, iMovie, Keynote, and so on, apps that were typically only seen on a Mac were able to have an iOS version created for it. Then, there are the apps that are extensions of services that Apple provides. Apps like Apple Music, Apple TV, Apple News, and Apple Watch are all apps that are the real money makers for Apple, and thus are front and center. All this has added enough bloatware to fill 2 separate pages of app icons, which is something I did not expect from the likes of Apple. A noticeable difference between the two has been the shift in allowing you to customize how the home screen layouts look. Back when the iPhone 4 came out, it was a big differentiating feature between iOS and Android, as Android allowed for complete customization. 16 years on, and not only are you allowed to customize how each home screen looks like, but Apple has also added the ability to have widgets as well. Apple's implementation of stackable widgets is a fantastic idea to help save screen real estate, and I especially love Apple's version of Google's Discover page, being able to see various widgets with a whole bunch of information in one location for me to easily scroll. Even better is the ability to also customize the lock screen how you'd like, and with widgets as well. Who would have thought that the Apple of olden days, back when the iPhone 4 came out, who were staunchly against customization, would eventually relent and go all in? I approve of this change, as I much prefer how I can make it feel like my own iPhone. So, 16 years later, what's the verdict? Well, I definitely chose the right time to jump back into the iPhone world, with things like a much larger display, vastly improved cameras, and an entirely new approach to making an iPhone feel more personal through customization. And where there's plenty of things I liked about where Apple went with their iPhone, there's also some things I miss, like the compactness of the device, the home button, which was replaced with the navigation bar, and the simpler times of less apps and services from Apple. But what are your thoughts about how the iPhone has evolved over the years? Are there things you like that they changed? Or maybe something that you miss? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, then please give this video a like, hit that subscribe button to my channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss an update on my next upload. Thanks for staying until the end. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.